Hey, hi everyone. So another potentially epic showdown between Djokovic and Medvedev on the cards. Yes, it's finals of the US Open 2023. Both these players are playing really well. They are fit, they are fresh, and it seems to be a promising match. So in this video, we are going to talk about the head-to-head record. We'll try to see the key factors and strategy that Djokovic and Medvedev could use against each other to win the match. We'll also talk about the significance of this victory for Djokovic and for Medvedev, and we'll also have the prediction from our end. So let's get started. Let's first talk about the head to head record and also about the last two meetings between these two players. Now, as you know, that both these players are very much accustomed to hard courts. Medvedev is a hard court specialist. We all know what Djokovic has done in Australian Open and US Open over the years, so he is also an hard court specialist. So if we talk about the head-to-head record, Djokovic and Medvedev have faced each other 14 times, and as one would expect, Djokovic, who is potentially or arguably the greatest of all time, leads the head-to-head by 9 wins to 5 for Medvedev. And on hard courts, Djokovic has won double the matches as compared to Medvedev. On clay, they have met only once, and Medvedev was able to win that match. And on grass, again, it's Djokovic, and they have played only once. So let's focus more on hard courts because that is where these two players, like at least for Medvedev, he plays his best tennis. And especially at US Open, he has said that a lot of times. He has even been able to beat Djokovic here in the finals in 2021, and that was a straight set victory for Medvedev. So he knows how to beat Djokovic at the biggest stages. And if you talk about the last two meetings, Dubai in January or February was the last meeting where Medvedev was again able to beat Djokovic. It was a hard court, and I saw the match. So any match between these two players is always going to be close because these both players like to play from the baseline, and obviously it results in long rallies, changing directions, using slice, big serves, trying to outfox each other, and as a result it results in a big match, close match, and Medvedev was able to get the better of Djokovic in Dubai. And before that, the same year in Adelaide, Australia, Djokovic was able to beat Medvedev. So it's pretty even if we talk about the form and the style of play. Obviously, Djokovic has a little more variety, more strengths to his game, but then the strategy part comes into picture. I still feel that Djokovic sometimes doesn't play with the right strategy against Medvedev and some of the other players, even against Alcaraz, and he needs to change that. Now, if we talk about a few years back, when Djokovic was in his prime, he was like fit, he was young, he could take some chances. He could go for a baseline play against Nadal or someone like Alcaraz and someone like Medvedev. But now, as he's 36, it's difficult for him as well, which is natural, to defend so much from the baseline and not feel, exhaustion. So he needs to change his strategy a little bit, be more aggressive. I think the same thing had been done by Federer, who also understood the fact that he has to change his game as he ages. And again, Nadal also did the same, and that is why you can see how successful Nadal was towards the end of, starting from 2017 till 2019, 2020. And he played, although you can say that he didn't meet Djokovic or the likes of Federer, but he was still able to beat some top quality players like Del Potro and Silic, because those players are accustomed to hard courts, those are aggressive players. So my point is that strategy also needs to be changed a little bit from Djokovic's perspective. And the head-to-head, although Djokovic leads it at this point of time, I don't think it makes much difference because their last few meetings have been really close. So it has always been touch and go. So pretty even from this standpoint. Now let's look at the current form. And when I say current form, I mean about this specific tournament. So I think Medvedev is in great form, and he would be very high in confidence after winning the match against Alcaraz, because he was losing to him so badly in the last few matches. And like, people were completely writing him off, saying that Alcaraz has got too much variety, which is actually true. But you can never count out Medvedev, because he is very unpredictable. He can do anything. He doesn't look to have a very good technique on his forehand, or he's not a copybook player. He has his own style, but he can do everything. He has great defense. He can change his game, like we saw against Alcaraz. He started playing aggressive. He was serving big. He was also coming to the net when it was possible, using drop shots, using slices. So again, a complete player. But he was able to change the strategy, which was the best thing. And I think he'll try to do the same thing against Djokovic, because he knows if he just plays from the baseline against Djokovic, he's going to lose the match. So he'll have to be aggressive. He'll have to go for big serves, huge serves. Now, there is a difference between his match in 2021 and as compared to today, because one thing that we've observed is, and you could also sort of analyze, is that when a player has a difficult semi-final match at the US Open, I don't know what is the reason. Maybe it's because it's the last slam of the year and players are more exhausted than ever coming into this Grand Slam. And if they face a five setter in the semifinals, they usually not perform to their best in the finals. Now, there may be a few exceptions to it, but if you analyze, this could be a possible situation. But in this match, as you know, that none of the players had to stretch for five sets, so it seems to be more dependent on the game. When you talk about 2021, Djokovic had won three slams. Prior to that, he was visibly exhausted in the match. He could see gesturing that to his box also during that match. And he also had to play a five setter, I think, against Zverev, if I'm not wrong, before that final. So that is, again, a crucial factor which we tend to ignore a lot of times. But having said that, this time that's not the case. So it's good that both players should be very much fit to play the match and perform at their highest level. When I talk about Djokovic, again, Djokovic is playing well, but I still think he's not at his best. His serve doesn't look good, to be honest, as compared to his previous performances, and his consistency is also lacking. And what he did against Alcaraz in Wimbledon, I think that was quite inexplicable to some extent, because usually when we talk about tie breaks, Djokovic is the number one player to rely on. He never makes mistakes, but in that match, I don't know, due to the wind or due to the nerves or due to the pressure, he made a few unforced errors in the tiebreak, which actually costed him the match and the final. So looking at that, I am not too sure how he would perform or how he would control his nerves in this final. Had he won that match, I would have been super confident, but this time around, I would say he's not playing his best. Now, the thing to say is whether he will come out different, because, as you know, every day is different. So maybe he'll come out on top and he'll play his best tennis. If he is not able to play his best tennis, the thing to see would be whether his below par performance would it be still enough to win against Medvedev or not, and then would Medvedev be able to repeat the same performance that he had against Alcaraz? So that is to be seen. Now both look fit, as I already mentioned that their semifinals were not too stretched, so that should be okay. Now let's talk about the key factors and the strategy for the final, right? So it's not hidden that there is a lot of pressure that's going to be on Djokovic, because he's going for his 24th Grand Slam title, to move two ahead of Nadal, and also he's trying to equal the record for the number of Grand Slams with Margaret Court. So let's that definitely would bring a lot of pressure, because Djokovic is 36. He has already mentioned that any Grand Slam could be his last Grand Slam. There is no surety, so that puts extra pressure. We saw that pressure on Federer. We see that pressure on Nadal as well, and now the same pressure is on Djokovic as well. So definitely, it's a good opportunity for him. But at the same time, I feel that he plays well when he doesn't take that pressure. When he takes that pressure, then he sorts of goes into a shell. He tries to defend a lot from the baseline, doesn't take chances, tries uh, to wait for the opponent to miss, and that for me is not the correct strategy. So I think the same was done by Federer, but I think Nadal is the best in this category because he understands that he has to be aggressive, and that is why he's able to still win a lot of the matches which he shouldn't have won due to his mental resilience. Okay, so pressure definitely on Djokovic. Now, talking about the key strategy or the key factors, Djokovic's serve and return of serve are very important, and I think those would serve as the key factor. Now, both the players play well from the baseline, right? So, what is going to differentiate them? Djokovic's return of serve definitely the best in business. So even though Medvedev is going for big serves both on the first and the second, if Djokovic stands far back behind the baseline and he could somehow return well as he always does, it will put a lot of pressure on Medvedev to continue going for big shots, right? And Djokovic's serve himself, like that is very important. As I mentioned, he's not serving particularly well, so he has to increase the first serve percentage. His accuracy is deadly, so if he is able to up that percentage, definitely he'll get more free points. He can come to the net, he can serve and volley. As you know, Medvedev stands far back behind the baseline to return the shots, and Alcaraz took a lot of advantage of that. Even though he didn't win the match, but he won a lot of points when going for the serve and volley. So same, I think Djokovic should also try to apply. At the same time, Djokovic needs to play aggressively. He's 36. He has to understand that fact and acknowledge that although he can still go the distance, he can defend as good as possible and as good as some of the other players, but still, why to take that chance, right? If you have the game to be aggressive, which Djokovic certainly has, he can play different shots. He can use his slice to trouble Medvedev, just like Rafa did to Medvedev in the Australian Open to make the great comeback. So Djokovic also needs to use that variety and use a bit of aggression on big points and going to the net to finish off the volley, just so that he can differentiate himself from Medvedev. If he plays exactly like Medvedev, playing well from the baseline, I think Medvedev would have great chances to win because he would be potentially more fitter of the players. He would be under less pressure, so he could continue rallying for hours and hours. Whereas Djokovic, for in my opinion, would be the person who would have the pressure. So he needs to work on that. And if we talk about Medvedev, I think the strategy is very clear for him. He has to be aggressive. He has to serve well, as he did against Alcaraz. He also has to go for big second serves. He has to take risks and just hope that those risks, turn into favor for him, and he will be aggressive. I am definitely sure that Medvedev will be aggressive in this match, although I'm not sure if Djokovic would be aggressive by changing his strategy, and that is why I feel that Djokovic needs to make an additional effort there. And also, if I talk about the strategy or the pattern of play, I feel that Djokovic should go big to the Medvedev's forehand because that is the shot which might sort of create inroads for Djokovic. That is the shot that might go off if Medvedev is feeling the pressure. So definitely Djokovic should go big on his forehand. Now, when I say big, that means with pace and depth, because Medvedev also has a unique action on the forehand. He puts a lot of spin, but it is difficult to control if he's getting the ball too fast, right? So he has to get into the position, and sometimes that's not easy. So I think that is one strategy that Djokovic should definitely try to apply. Now, if you talk about the significance of this match, obviously it could be history created if Djokovic wins this 24th major. If Medvedev wins, then obviously people would again continue the talk that they have been doing since Djokovic lost against Alcaraz at Wimbledon. Although that's not true, I don't feel that is true because Djokovic is still performing at a very high level. And if he continues to perform at this level, no matter how good Alcaraz is playing or how good Medvedev is playing, Djokovic will still have a chance to win. And as long as he has chances to win, he has himself said in the press conference that he'll continue to do it. So I think as of now, there is no changing of guard. But if Medvedev wins, what it does is it creates doubts in Djokovic's mind. At the same time, it creates confidence in the other players to feel that they could beat Djokovic, right? So that is the main point here. So let's see what happens. Now, talking about predictions, I still feel that Djokovic has the upper hand in the match because he has got a lot of variety. And unlike last time, he didn't have to face a five-set match in the semifinals, so he should be relatively fit as compared to his earlier encounters against Medvedev. And I think the pressure would definitely be there, but he should not take that, and he has to play aggressive. I still feel that Djokovic will be able to win this match. So the prediction would be for Djokovic to win this in four sets, just like Medvedev was able to do it against Alcaraz. I think it could be possibly the same result, but obviously anything can happen. So let's see. Let's hope for a great match. Thanks for watching.